Now, locals in a County Tipperary village are vowing to continue their protest outside a former hotel housing international protection applicants a year after their demonstration first began. Tomorrow, May 29th, marks 1 year since round-the-clock protests began outside Dundrum House Hotel as local representatives call for the Justice Minister and even the Dáil's Public Accounts Committee to review a new contract signed with its operators. Drive Time's John Cook has been back to the Tipperary village of Dundrum and he joins us now. John, you might firstly remind us what this protest is about.
Yes, Sarah, Dundrum House is an 18th century country estate. It's situated around 14 kilometres from both Tipperary town and Cashel. The hotel building was closed to guests following a ballroom fire in 2015, but the golf resort, leisure and restaurant facilities continue to trade. Plans for a hotel revamp were mooted, but instead the hotel welcomed 277 Ukrainian refugees to Dundrum in 2022, and as many have moved on, local political representatives were told 1 year ago tomorrow that the facility would begin to accommodate international protection applicants as well as some Ukrainian refugees. Local residents began a protest outside the hotel gates following a packed public meeting that same night, and 1 year on I've been back to their makeshift camp, which now has a caravan and a tent for shelter in the heavy rain. There are floodlights and a wood-burning stove, around 10 Irish flags flying high around it, and many banners and placards with slogans like Dundrum says no to direct provision centre, peaceful protests supported by local businesses, and make Dundrum great again. Local resident Fiona Kennedy brought me up to speed with what's been happening.
Yes, Ukrainian families had been here. That was all fine. But we were hoping that when that temporary contract, as it was, came to an end, that we'd get the hotel back for the village. But what happened then, of course, is as happening in so many places, it was offered up as IPAS accommodation. Now, we had serious issues about that because we're a village of 220 people and the accommodation that was being offered was for 277. And that would, without question, mean the absolute loss of our hotel and the associated spend and employment, etc. in the village. So in terms of what's happened since, it's been quite the roller coaster, and we've had people arriving in, we've had people moving on, and that's really been the situation.
So still some Ukrainian refugees and international protection applicants, and it's important to point out this golf club and leisure facility and restaurant continues to trade, but your camp has grown since I met you last. There's a caravan, there's a tent, there's plenty of wood for the fire, and there's lots of people here, and you stay day and night here. You've been protesting for a whole year now.
A whole year. This camp has never once been unattended. People stay here overnight. As you said, we have a caravan, so if people need to have a lie down, they can do that. Cooking facilities, everything. People drop off supplies and everything. The lads are always here. They're brilliant. They're always here in the afternoons chopping wood for the stove and everything. But we're steadfast, and it's just, you said, you assume maybe IPAS. It will be IPAS. We know it will be IPAS. But there's a big question. There are 3 court cases pending at the moment, going through the High Court, and we're at a loss to understand how a contract could have been signed.
And that's Fiona Kennedy there outside Dundrum House in Tipperary. And those issues she's talking about, John, they've also been raised in the Dáil.
On a number of occasions, Sarah, especially since that contract Fiona referred to was signed just over a month ago, when local political representatives were told that 277 beds will be provided for international protection applicants in Dundrum. The property will be run and operated by a newly formed Spanish-based company called Utmasta Limited, which has a 20-year lease on the site, and local representatives have suggested the 2-year contract could be worth up to €20 million. Locals I met in Dundrum mentioned ongoing legal cases there regarding Dundrum House Hotel, which I won't go into as they're still before the courts, while Tipperary County Council has confirmed to me they have issued a warning letter to the owners of Dundrum House, raising questions over alleged unauthorised developments at the property, with the decision as to whether enforcement action is required under the Planning and Development Act that's to be made in due course. All of these issues have been raised in the Dáil, as I mentioned. First, here's Tipperary Fine Gael TD Michael Murphy questioning the Taoiseach Micheál Martin, as you'll hear.
Taoiseach, serious questions surround a contract, an IPAS contract recently signed with Dundrum House Hotel, putting 277 IPAS applicants into a village with just a population of only 200. 4 real concerns. Firstly, there are ongoing ownership disputes currently before the High Court. Secondly, the contract was signed with a company that was only incorporated in January of this year. No Irish shareholders, no Irish directors. The Section 5 is currently the subject of a judicial review. And fourthly and lastly, the site is currently under investigation by Tipperary County Council for significant unauthorised development. Taoiseach, in my view, the process is completely flawed, a complete lack of transparency and a complete apparent lack of due diligence. The programme for government is very clear. We need to reduce the number of hotels providing IPAS accommodation. Taoiseach, I want to speak on behalf of the people of Dundrum today. I want to speak on behalf of the taxpayer. I know the Minister for Justice has taken responsibility tomorrow.
Taoiseach.
Could you ask him to review this contract urgently, please?
Well, I think my understanding is, again, a lot of work had happened during the time of the last government in respect of, it would have been Department of Children, I think, at the time. I will ask the Minister for Justice to examine the issues that you've raised here. I presume you've written, or people have written to the Minister in respect if you're suggesting there's irregularities or whatever. I'm not familiar with those and I can't comment on that, but I think I'll raise the issue with the Minister.
Taoiseach Micheál Martin there. Now, independent Tipperary South TD Matty McGrath has also raised questions about the new contract at Dundrum House. A government response he received from the Minister of State for Rural and Community Development, Jerry Buttimer, said that all due diligence was carried out to ensure compliance with the Companies Registration Office and tax compliance on this newly established entity, which the Dáil was told is part of a wider commercial group with experience in providing international protection accommodation. Deputy McGrath was not satisfied and said he's referring the matter to the Dáil's Public Accounts Committee. He wants a full investigation. Back at Dundrum House, I met newly arrived international protection applicants this week. Some had arrived on a bus from Drogheda, they told me, as locals protesting outside the gates criticised communications with the government over what's been happening there. Starting with Nora O'Dwyer, she runs the local hardware shop in Dundrum. She told me she was one of a number of people to question the Taoiseach Simon Harris during the general election campaign in Tipperary, as you'll hear.
We'd have gone through the situation with him about all we wanted was our hotel back, and he had said initially when he came into power that he wouldn't allow any small hotel that was the only hotel in an area gone into the use of IPAS again. We were exactly a blueprint for that, because there's only 220 people here on the register in the village area. And at the time they were talking about bringing in about 277 people.
You hoped under a new government, so with this policy of trying not to use the last available hotel in a community as an accommodation centre, that this might mean you'd get this hotel back?
Well, exactly, and it's been said a number of times since. Now, it hasn't always been followed up. We're not the only place that hasn't been followed up. Like Matty McGrath has spoke to him in the Dáil, through the Dáil. Michael Murphy has spoken in the Dáil a few times and he hasn't come back with anything concrete. So, and then there's a number of legal challenges that you probably heard.
Yeah.
I mean,
what is it you want to hear from government now? So
we want to get the hotel back, as we think, from the start, and try and get it back working up as a community hotel again.
What about yourself? What's your name?
John Ryan.
You're a local farmer?
Yeah, back gate.
You have land here at the back gate of Dundrum House?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Will you keep going with this protest?
Yeah.
Day and night, 1 year in?
Yeah, no problem. Until we get our point across the line, I suppose the best way to put it. When you're talking about 277 people in a village of 220, that's not right.
Margaret Gallagher, Dundrum. I don't want an IPAS centre here. I don't want all this immigration in Ireland either. So I think the government need to really step up now and look after Irish people.
But we don't get to say, we don't get to say who moves into our community, do we, in terms of your neighbours or my neighbours?
I could object if my neighbour wanted to build a garage. So, yeah, I do get a say. I want to say. We have elected this government, we're paying for them, so they should listen to what the people actually want.
So that's the protesters outside Dundrum House there. John, you've been in touch with government for a response.
I have, Sarah. I've been in touch with the Department of Justice earlier this week and again this evening to ask if the Justice Minister, Jim O'Callaghan, can comment on questions raised about this new contract at Dundrum House Hotel and on the concerns and requests of local residents in Dundrum as their protest continues 1 year on. I haven't received a response in time for this evening's report. I'm told one will be forthcoming, so I may get to bring that to you later. I also spoke to the owner of Dundrum House Hotel. He indicated he would be in a position to respond to local concerns in Dundrum soon, but not this week, he told me. He also said the Utmasta company leasing the property is a separate entity, and I haven't been able to reach that company for comment, Sarah.
John Cook reporting from Dundrum in County Tipperary. Thank you very much.